Good afternoon. It's Kelly and Jess here with Mid-Michigan Community Advocacy Agency. And we are here today with Officer Brennan Warren and here in Midland County with the Midland
Police Department.
Midland Police Department, thank you. And we know there's been some questions in the community. We've heard from our families and community partners. Just being curious about car seat safety and like when to transition from backward facing to forward facing, and kind of like installing, and when to transition to boosters. And so Officer Warren here is going to clear up some of that this afternoon for us. And so we're so appreciative of him taking time out of his busy schedule to do that. So we're going to get to that.
So a lot of questions of what I get from day to day is that when can I move my child from a rear-facing car seat to a forward-facing car seat? What age do they have to be at? When can I put them from booster into just a standard seat belt? And there's a big gray area when it comes to that, because each child's developmental stages are different in life as they grow and they get different ages. So I apologize for the wind today. Mother Nature really ordered up this for us, but I'm going to kind of hold this sheet up here. This is from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and this is kind of a guide as to when you should be changing your children and your child over into a different seat. So you see here the pink portion of it, that's the rear facing. What they recommend is from birth all the way up to 3 years old, a child can be in a rear facing car seat. The reason why they do that all the way up to 3 is it overlaps with the forward facing, because again, like I said, with the developmental stages of children, they're a little bit different. So what we recommend as car seat technicians is to touch base and look at the manufacturer of the seat that you actually purchased. They will tell you on the side of those seats, on the warning labels, just how long your child can be in that seat for. It'll give you pounds as well as height. So kind of go off of that. And again, when you look at this sheet here, they do overlap. So for instance, the rear facing car seat does overlap with forward facing. And then you'll see the forward facing does overlap with the booster seat, and then the same thing with booster seat to just seat. So NHTSA standards go all the way up to 12 years old. And again, like I said, they go from rear facing to forward facing to booster seat to seat. So now we're going to do just an installation on a base of a rear facing car seat here. So I only have the base here with me because my daughter's at daycare, so she needed the actual seat itself. But as you can see here, what my wife and I have is we have a Kiko KeyFit base here. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways as to how you can put it in correctly. One quick note is you never want to use the seat belt and the latch system at the same time. These bases are only designed to be used for just the actual latch system itself, or the seat belt. You never want to double down on it. Okay? So I'm going to show you off the latch system here first. As you can see here, the actual seat itself has these buckles in them, what we call the latch system. Okay? So I'm going to get these to release, and that way I have as much slack as I possibly can. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to find these lower anchors here in the seat. Now, if your vehicle has lower anchors, what you can do is you can see is there'll be these little plastic buttons that'll show kind of like an anchor. That way you know that you have that seat, the latch system available to you. You only want to utilize the actual latch system belts latch systems that are on the seat itself. You never want to cross them. So for instance, you would never want to use one on the directly behind the driver's seat as well as the middle seat. You only want to use the passenger seat, the driver's seat portion for that seat itself. You never want to cross it. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of nicely put the latch buckle in here. And I'm going to, once I get it in there correctly, I'm going to hear this nice little click, just like a seatbelt click. So there's one click, and then I'll do the same on the other side. And once I get it in there correctly, there'll be another click. There's my click. Now the biggest thing what I want to do here now is I want to apply as much pressure as I possibly can into the center of that car seat, okay? What I'm doing now is I'm just lifting up on this strap here to tighten it in. So that's going to get it nice and tight. If you need to, and you have the ability to get inside the actual seat itself, if you need to apply pressure with your knee, more than you can, you want to get it nice and tight in there, okay? So now that I've got it nice and tight in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay inside the vehicle here, but I'm going to move, and I'm just going to put some firm pressure into where the actual belt path is. I'm not going to put any pressure in here because I want movement up front here, okay? In the event that we are in a crash, essentially what we want is we want the front of this seat to maybe just kind of come up for a ride, and then maybe comes right back down. Where we want things to be nice and tight and firm is right where the belt path is. So I'm nice for just a firm grip. I don't want it to move more than an inch from side to side or front to back. If I find that after I'm done and I think I've got everything tight and I can move it this much, I know that I'm not tight enough. So I'm going to come back in here, apply more pressure. Put my strap in my strap storage area, and then apply that pressure to see if I don't have any movement there. Not side to side or front to back. So that's the latch system. For seat belt, if I were to use the seat belt portion, I would place my latch in my latch storages. Tighten that up. And now I'm going to use the seat belt portion. So this particular base here has its own lock off here. As you can see here with this yellow arm here, this is the shoulder belt lock off. Some bases won't have that, so in the event that you don't have a shoulder lock off, feed your belt through, give yourself enough slack so that way you can get the actual belt buckled, get a nice, that way you don't have any slack in the actual lap portion. Then what you would do is you would come in and you would lock the seat belt. So once you hear that click, and you hear that retractor as it's click, 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 you know that the seat belt's locked. Now I can't pull it any farther, okay? Same thing that you would do is you would just apply pressure into the center of the seat. And then you pull up, getting all of that extra slack out of there. And then again, that nice and firmness there. Now, like I said, with this actual base model that I have here, I have a lock off. Therefore, I don't need to lock myself in here. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed the belt through, give myself enough slack, just enough so that way I don't lock the actual seat itself. Because if I come in here and I lock myself and I let it go, now I don't have enough space to get over here. So make sure you never lock your belt until you actually have to. Give myself slack. Get myself locked in. I take the slack out of the lap portion of it as I'm pushing down and applying pressure to the base itself. And then once I feel as though I've got enough, it's down nice and there tight, I can hit my shoulder belt lock off. And then I do that same thing by applying that pressure to see if I have any movement here. I have no movement, so I'm good to go. Now I'll lock myself. And now I know that I won't have any movement at all. So that's your rear facing base there. Make sure you always check for the recline as well. As you can see here, when we look inside the bubble here, I'm a little bit off. So how I would do that and change that is I would take my belt off. And each seat or base is going to have its own recline. So here I would adjust that by pressing onto these two buttons here, and this will allow it to open itself up. Here, now that I find I have too much, I'll simply push into it a little bit, get it to go into its next section, and now I'm perfectly aligned within my level here. So just keep those things in mind when you're putting your actual base in. If you have any questions in regards to rear facing seats, don't hesitate. You can call the police department. I can come out and take a look at your seat. It has to be by appointment. or come here to the law enforcement center, and we can schedule something for you there for rear facing. So now we're going to move into just a booster seat. So your child is getting to that age where they're in their developmental stage where they can start progressing in. Okay, so the biggest thing with the booster seats is what we want to have is we want to make sure that the actual shoulder strap belt is protecting them the appropriate way. So a lot of times what we'll see is whether belts might be down here, so it's kind of coming across the lower or the top portion of their abdomen. These booster seats are convenient because they have this nice little shoulder strap thing through here where you can feed the actual belt through. So once we get it through, we make sure that the lap belt is protecting their hips, so it's nice and across the actual shoulder, their hips there for the lap belt, and then the shoulder strap is coming across from the top of their shoulder right around to their chest area, and then it's facing back down toward that other hip where the actual receiver is for the actual belt itself. So they're nice and tight, snug in there. Boosters are really simple. They're not as complicated as the rear-facing seats or even the forward-facing seats can be. Just make sure that they're covered around the hip areas as well as the shoulder straps there. So, yeah, like I said, the boosters are pretty simple there.